Hey everyone. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about and definitely a lot of moving pieces with this chapter, and I guess I'll start from the top with the confrontation between Ryzen and Hannibal, where we learn Hannibal has been brought in as a teacher on a teacher from Dead Rock by God. Now, knowing that alone, I'm interested in just how Mashroom's gonna play this, because this setup does mean Ryzen is gonna have more of a focus within the core plot now. But once again, the more curious part is Hannibal himself. Like the most telling thing is that that there was this whole like scuffle between Ryzen and Hannibal. This was really the perfect opportunity for Hannibal to just straight up kill Ryzen. Like just from this brief interaction, you can see Hannibal clearly has the power to in order to kill him, in order to kill Ryzen, but he didn't. He's just kind of playing with him, and that to me just kind of feeds into the idea that Hannibal does kind of want Ryzen to kill him. That there was a reason he had to kill the princess, so now he's feeding into this evil villain persona in order to fuel Ryzen's hatred for him, in order to get stronger and kill him as atonement for for basically this sin he feels of killing the princess. Even though we don't know why he killed her. I'm prepared for this to bite me in the ass if we find out he was just an evil bastard from the jump, but the whole time, but yeah, something is feeling off about Hannibal's role in this story right now. Like something just doesn't add up or feel right about him. That there's more than what we know on the surface. In saying that, let's talk about the conclusion to the fight between Frey and AG, and I'll be honest, reading through this chapter for the first time, I thought Frey's whole flame resurrection after AG crushed your skull was a little bit of an ass pull and a little bit bullshit. But admittedly that was just my initial thought. And after having read through the chapter, and the more I thought about it through the lens of the kind of world Mashima was playing with, that all these characters are essentially some form of demon or monster. Frey's resurrection Frey's resurrection, her coming back from the dead in this giant fire form, started to make a lot more sense because typically an Ifrit is a demon consumed but in flame. Like its whole body, in essence, is a living flame. And since Frey's origin root is tied to this demon, it actually kind of makes sense that her awakening would allow her to fully tap into the powers of an Ifrit, including the ability to become a living flame, so to speak. So, like, her basically surviving, it's in some ways it's still a little sketchy, but it does make sense when looking at through that lens of her tapping fully into the Ifrit's power. Even more than all that, though, I absolutely love the expectation reversal in the sense of, in any of Mashima's other stories, Eiji would actually kind of be the main character. He would be the hero, since since even though it was motivated by revenge, he was the one fighting for a noble cause. But simultaneously, it does still need to be addressed that the desire for revenge the desire for vengeance, is what ultimately caused his downfall. Whereas Frey moved past her hatred after killing Luzon, and so just that dynamic of the one who seeks revenge versus the one who moved past it. It is a very interesting way of looking at how this fight played out and the result. But just in a more general sense, I do love this direction simply for that fact that it kind of bucks the usual revenge story narrative trends of the one seeking revenge being the one who has to face the hero, who has to face the main character or hero. But in this case, it's like, yeah, AG's quest for revenge was basically stopped by Frey, the one who looked past revenge at that point. With that said, though, there is an elephant in the room to talk about, which is that Frey, having defeated Eiji, essentially means her and Yakuto have to fight. And this is where the chapter started to get real fun for me, because almost immediately in the aftermath of the fight, it switches up to Saru pleading his case to God in order to drop the killing rule for Frey and Yakuto's fight, because he sees their potential and wants to nurture it, at least according to him. But honestly, I think there's more to it than that, obviously, because I do remember a very specific scene much earlier in the series where I think we saw Saru basically catch Yakuto and the gang sneaking around, but seemingly just look the other way. So I think he is trying. I think Saru basically has kind of planted himself as the group's sort of like surrogate kind of thing at this point, and he's trying to I think he's skirting the line right now between helping them but trying to maintain the subterfuge, which officially again puts Saru in my good books now. In saying that though, I do also worry he's not long for this world, because God basically tells Saru to prove his convictions, and I worry what the intent of that means, and what it's going to entail, because it's either going to be a straight up fight against God or the other teachers. Then he's basically a dead monkey walking. I'm sorry, but Saru is not long for this world if he has to fight either the teachers or God himself or both. But if it's more so something. But if it's more so something where God wants Saru to make some sort of like sacrifice or pact to him, he'll probably get out of this to live another day, but likely have to suffer the consequences for it later down the line. I think that those are one of the only two options here for basically Saru at this point. I'm not sure which it is, but it's definitely going to be one of those two. Of course, while that's going on, we also have Yakuto scheming with Frey with a way to get out of killing each other. In regards to what that plan might be, I'm imagining it's what he was originally planning to do in order to save Setsuna, or maybe even the Awakening. Or maybe even the awakening of Frey's powers might have given Yakuto a few extra ideas as how to possibly get through this fight without killing each other. But in either case, I do like how we are seeing more and more of Yakuto's tactical thinking throughout this little tournament arc. He's finding new and inventive ways in order to skirt the rules that God has laid out, and how he can prevent the least amount of casualties. It's one of those moments where I think Yakuto did learn a lot from Hien's death, and now if he truly wants to defeat God, he can't afford to be reckless. He has to actually think tactically. He has to try and outsmart God in some way or another. Although that's probably easier said than done. And it'll be, depending on what happens with what Saru is doing, it'll be interesting to see how what Yakuto and Frey are doing also lines up with what Saru is doing. And that's kind of my interesting thing, is how these two scenes are gonna kind of mesh together, if at all. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, put me on Blue Sky, and it was Crunchyroll. Be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight with me, signing off. Later, everyone.